We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
And now, Reality Rants with Jason Burmes.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, everybody. It is Reality Rants. I am Jason Burmes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Another banger of a show ready to go early in the morning. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's broadcast. And I always try to do something different than what everybody else is talking about, right? What everybody else is talking about. Not that we don't cover those issues, because we're gonna cover January 6th. We're gonna cover the Musker nuts and the Twitter files and the FTC. We're gonna go down that line for sure. But I can promise you, we're going to give a nuanced perspective. Now, I miss stuff. And when I miss something that I think is important, not only do I want to do a show on it, but I want to make it a focal point because I think it's important. And it's weird for me that I missed this, because growing up as a kid, the NBA was just, for me, the most fun thing to watch on a really a daily basis when it was basketball season. I was not the best basketball player. I was okay. I was a hustler. I played some good defense in there. I was decent as kind of like a sixth man off the bench. I could make a foul shot, those type of things. And at times they would put me in just to rough somebody up, and just put me on somebody just to really annoy them and piss them off, because I'm not the biggest guy. Now, I was a small town, so not being the biggest guy, it's not like I'm John Stockton, who we're going to talk about, who's a true legend, and why we're talking about this in general. John Stockton, in my era, and possibly all eras, is one of the greatest point guards / basketball players of all time. And what's even more impressive is that he is not a large man to be playing in the NBA at any era. Okay, he's a smaller guy, about my size, especially in that league you can't imagine. He and Karl Malone were really part of a pseudo dynasty with the Utah Jazz that, like so many other great teams in that era, would have probably been more successful if Michael Jordan and the Bulls weren't around. Okay, but to describe how pioneering my man John Stockton really is, this is a guy who was also on the first Olympic Dream Team. And you look at who was on that team, it's a who's who of the eras. You had some older guys in there like Bird and, of course, Magic. And boy, did that take off with the HIV narrative too, huh? Thinking about it, going back, we talk about those things all over the place. And John Stockton was something special. And he still is. He's legendary in my eyes, at least in a sports capacity. Now, when I was getting ready to do this broadcast, I thought to myself, there's other, one of my really good friends right now, Pat Miletich. He's a true legend. Like, he's also legendary. One of the few guys to be in the UFC Hall of Fame. Not that many of those people out there. And then on top of that, you've got him coaching people, like Matt Hughes is already in the Hall of Fame, and Jens Pulver, who just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. He's legendary. And in order to get to those levels in sports or in life, okay, because as I was thinking to myself, you know what? I also know another legend. Love him or hate him, Alex Jones is legendary. May not be a sports guy, but there's something in common. There's a drive to do something. There's a drive for some kind of greatness. Something more than what the average person wants to achieve. And growing up, being in sports, when you look at that, you've got to understand it's not just God-given talent. You got to have discipline. There's a lot of people with God-given talent out there that don't have discipline, that don't know how to use that God-given talent. And in order to fully put it together, the way somebody like Miletich or John Stockton does is truly something else. And really the way that Jones has really, changed media forever. Changed media, I would say, more than somebody like Howard Stern, who in my mind, I don't know him personally, obviously, did so as well, love him or hate him. I want to put that out there all around because it's relevant here. Because all of those people, John Stockton, Pat Miletich, Alex Jones, they're also regular people who have family and friends. And just like regular people, they want to be loved. They want to be accepted. And when the going gets tough, sometimes those people are the ones to stand up and say enough is enough and not go along to get along, but give out some of that hard love. And John Stockton apparently is one of those people. Now, I get it. There are some that were just fooled. And then all of a sudden, they're not fooled anymore. And they spoke out. Eric Clapton would be another legend, right? That bought into the Johnny nonsense and spoke up and was crucified for it. Any of these legends that speak up at any time, all right, they're crucified for it. And John Stockton apparently, again, is one of those guys. I had no idea. I missed stories. So, to show you this is a story from last year, okay? John Stockton's defiance of the COVID-19 84 mask mandate forces Gonzaga to suspend NBA Hall of Famers basketball season tickets. Okay, now this is last January, 14 months ago. Enough was enough. And the way I came across anything John Stockton in this respect about where we're going to go on is I had no idea that he was taking part in forums and apparently a documentary as well, which the media crucified him for locally. I'm surprised I didn't see more of it nationally out there. I sure didn't see people come to his side. How this guy wasn't on the Tuck-Ins or any of these other shows should really show you that they're not the best thing since breakfast. And honestly, last night's Tucker, everybody was so waiting for more of the January 6th footage. It was kind of a dud. No offense. It was good that he had the police officer. We can get into that stuff. I want the raw footage, just like I want the raw Twitter files. Going to be tough, I guess, when the FTC and now the DOJ are asking for all the journalists that had any access to those files. Strange times. So there's a media piece that I'm going to play in the second hour where they just go right for the throat. right for the throat on somebody who is a legend. All right? This is a man with a spine. This is a man with guts. This is a man who's seen adversity time and time again at the highest level of athletics, where not only millions of dollars are at stake, all right, but really, when you get to that level and you have that kind of success, you know, John Stockton's name was never in the press for doing absurd things. And there certainly were NBA players during that era where that happened to them. John Stockton is one of the few guys that started with a team and ended with a team in the NBA. I think he had a 20-plus year career. And last year, he said enough was enough with the ass clownery, with the jackassery, with the hate and the lies and the cosplay, okay, and the LARPing. Because that's, you know, when I found out what live action role play really was, you know, they'll talk about it in the grifter sense, and then they'll talk about it in the cosplayer sense. No, you're in a live action role play. If you're wearing some kind of bandana or a medical mask around your face at this point last year, you are. I mean, you were in one beforehand. It's now been proven over and over and over again. But good for Stockton. So let's continue on. So this year, John Stockton won't return to Gonzaga games soon, citing what? The boobity-boop mandates a year later. Good for him. There he is in a suit at a conference talking some real stuff. When I saw this conference and I saw John Stockton introducing these people, I'm like, why did I not know that John Stockton was standing up against tyranny? I should know this. This guy's voice should be amplified. And if you're looking at my news sources here, even with this stuff, this is Seattle Times, the Spokesman Review, not making national attention. Because the bottom line is, again, they don't want to amplify voices that challenge the narrative when you have strong individuals that aren't TikTok influencers, right? Instead, they're generational icons that are getting paid to say something. This guy's not a pop star, right? He's not an actor. This is a guy who, when you saw his raw grit and emotion, it was real. How about that? It was real. It was something shared with hundreds of millions of people over the time period he played. Literally, globally. I mean, the NBA exploded. Basketball exploded during his era. So, again, this is a real hero. And he's sure not treated as one in the media. But I'm telling you again, can't play that clip here. Not a chance. Not a chance. So look, Stockton said this about 1,000 pro athletes. I'm not saying that. I want to make that clear. Now, he said that and he defended it on YouTube. I could never get away with talking like what John Stockton does in this interview, let alone allowing him to say that on my YouTube channel. This person, however, who's endorsed by the mainstream media. This is a MSN article, actually. Okay, this was right around New Year's. All this controversy was happening in New Year's because he was putting himself in a documentary. Okay? So, take a look there. And then it's NBA legends blast John Stockton for batshit crazy claims. And they came out of the woodwork. Detlef Schrempf, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, etc., etc. Shame on them. Shame on you, Detlef. You know? You had a long, rough career. I mean, I'm pretty sure Detlef Schrempf, they're not saying it, but they're showing the Seattle Supersonics. Didn't Schrempf go to the Pacers? Have a bit in there? So he's a conspiracy peddler. Now, that's a man right there. That's a man. That's somebody to be looked up to. That's what that is. Okay? Just want to point that out. Okay. So, I've got a slew of other stories to go down the line. A slew of other stories. But I guess the one I want to do right now is this January 6th narrative. Okay? Because I read this, and it's cartoon level comical what this guy wrote. I was there. I took video footage. I felt more physically intimidated at concerts I've been to over my lifetime when I was in far better shape and younger. I want to point that out. I've certainly felt, I would say, more physically intimidated in other news situations that I've covered in the past as well, in groups. This was a joke. And by the way, on the second level, on the top, I recorded a bunch of the actual violence. And I still wonder to this day, were those people arrested? So, what I witnessed, for the most part, was like a glorified Dave Matthews Band concert. Instead of Dave and the band, it was Trump and the election. Okay, that's it. I didn't see Nazis. Okay, I didn't see Confederate flags. I didn't see white supremacists. I didn't see armed insurrectionists. That's not real. That was never real. I didn't need videos to confirm that. I'm glad they showed the Sick Nick video. They need to show people who are working with the police. For instance, even in one of the videos, they kind of clipped to overhead shot. I saw somebody who had taken a long pole that may or may not have had a flag on it at one point, okay? And then hand it to the officers and then have it put behind the line. And now, hey, that might have been just an off-duty officer, somebody in law enforcement, somebody who was trying to regulate the crowd, or it might be one of the plants. That's just one of the issues we need to talk about. So this individual, apparently, he is a professor over at NYU. Okay, this is his LinkedIn over here. Justin Hendricks. Okay, he's out of Brooklyn. This is it. And he's also Tech Policy Press. I mean, these people are jokes. And wait till I read this. Oh, he likes the little robot machine transhumanism. Justin Hendricks. Here he is. Oh, yeah. He's got his little 2030 vision, by the way. The decade ahead in media. This guy repeats every single ridiculous trope that the establishment narrative wants out there. And before I read some of it, I kind of want to go back to a time where 9/11 Truth was breaking through the mainstream narrative, and it was conspiracy theory. They wanted to go with no planes and all sorts of Johnny nonsense. So the Jew trope, every other trope you could imagine to try to discredit it, and space lasers, right? All these things. But one of the tropes you would hear again and again and again that I liken to this idea of social media feeding into ecosystems for profit. Okay, that's a trope. That's not real. Okay, it's not what's causing all this. It was that in large-scale events, it was so uncomfortable for me to think that things like this were happening, they were out of my control, that I needed to imagine a narrative where I could simplify it and explain it as bad rich people. Oh, and there's some kind of order to the world. And that actually comforted me. No. I would have been much more comfortable thinking that some Muslims in a jihadist moment that hated us for our freedoms somehow got off a terrorist attack and our military would go and deal with them and defeat the evil. Not what happened. That's imagination land. I have to be an adult. And the adult in me Even though that happened when I was 22, and so many of us out there are now in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and some will argue what an adult is, but some will just never grow into it. No, some will never grow in to self-responsibility, what it truly means to be a grown-up. But to me, what it means to be a grown-up is confronting reality. And that made me way more uncomfortable then, finding out that the war, you think back in 2002 and 2003 when I really started seeing this stuff pop off in Iraq, I was happy with the fact that I was coming to the realization this was a 20-plus year war that would never end. There'd be invisible boogeymen everywhere and it would expand to us. And then it did? Come on, grow up. So that was just one of those bullshit tropes. So many tropes are in Pony Boy here's a little write-up of January 6th. And I want to play Schumer, by the way. It's over the top. Okay, this guy, look at this guy. So let's read it. Again, this is an NYU professor. I've covered January 6th fairly closely. You know, I don't know what he sounds like, but we're gonna talk like I expect, even though he's a Brooklyn person, he talks, including helping with Just Security, January 6th clearinghouse. I've read thousands of pages of documents and watched dozens, if not hundreds of hours of footage from that day and events that led up to it. Oh, dozens, if not hundreds of hours of that day and events that live up to it. It's a joke, January 6th clearinghouse. Okay? So this is really, if you go to this, all right, this is a place where they were just trying to bring people down, all right, and make them into domestic terrorists and act like there was some kind of domestic terrorist operation. Meanwhile, the only thing that could even come close to counting as what could have been domestic terrorism was the pipe bomber on the 5th. Thank God those bombs didn't go off. By the way, let's get the thumbs up, subscribe, and share, everybody. 2, I pay close attention to the dynamics in the media and social media ecosystem as they relate to January 6th, writing about related research and producing information and reporting on the subject. While what Fox News and others on the right are doing is abhorrent. On the right. I'm not on the right, dummy. It wouldn't matter where on the political spectrum I lie. How about the raw footage? How about the raw documents on Twitter? What they're doing is abhorrent. No. What the narrative that has been constructed, the fact that we now have show trials in this country where we hire Hollywood producers is beyond repulsive and repugnant, Justin. My goodness. In many ways, it is just more of the same. Public perception of January 6th has remained remarkably static since it happened. If you participate in or largely consume a media diet of the maggot cinematic universe, you've been exposed to these ideas for more than 2 years. Look, again, if you can't look at the footage that's already publicly available and figure out what happened, if you don't understand that there was a permit there, all right? If you weren't on the scene at the ellipse that the media didn't want to cover in the first place, the media didn't want to cover tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not 1 million people in D.C. to express that an election was stolen. And you're making this about MAGA cinematic universe? Are you out of your mind, dude? Hey, sailor, it's time to come to port and a place called reality. But, you know, if you saw my commentary on this, let's just go to it. We'll do it live. This is what I said initially. I think I nailed it. We're going to keep going, by the way. We're going to read that, unfortunately, that thread. Okay? So, because I read it, and it made me ill. This entire thread is a diatribe embracing the establishment narrative of the dangers of social media and a comical version of January 6th. Anyone who would posit such nonsense and consider themselves an intellectual, which you know this person, an intellectual, is probably delusional due to the numerous pharmaceuticals. And obviously the pharmaceuticals that this person is probably on. I mean, does anybody think that this person isn't heavily medicated for some type of mental disorder? You're not, I mean, I can only imagine the physical disorders, guys. I mean, look, read this non-tech policy press. You're a joke, dude. It's a joke. The business of producing this worldview is good business. It is green, as Rupert Murdoch put in his deposition in the Dominion suit. And it is green for all the entities involved in it, from Fox to Facebook to Substack to Spotify. So now it's again, Facebook, Trojan horse civilian system. Trojan horse civilian system. Fox News is a joke. It's been a joke the entire time. It's still the best there is right now. There was a time when Keith Olbermann had his sanity, and he was the best there was during the Bush administration. It's been inverted to a cartoon level society. Substack. Ooh, evil Seymour Hersh and other people can publish on Substack. And of course, let's go after Rogan. It's the only reason you're talking about Spotify, brother. My goodness. I mean, just, again, delusional. Delusional. I keep thinking of what Bridget Marie told me. We created a digital media ecosystem where liars, scammers, and people who are trafficking in the most extreme ideologies are the ones who are handsomely rewarded, amplified, and incentivized. Again, total and complete horseshit. Absolutely not. I'm sorry. Is Wolf Blitzer in prison? Is he? I mean, is Chris Matthews in jail? All those people from that Bush era, way back in the day, that promoted weapons of mass destruction? Hannity? No. Listen, those people all got seven-figure deals, seven-figure plus deals almost 2 decades ago. Almost 2 decades ago. And then digital media came in. People started challenging those narratives. And then you had like people like, Chunk Yogurt over there. Sank Yogurt. Whatever, what is it? The Young Turks. Now, I remember when the Young Turks were coming up, Obama administration, trying to say they're the biggest in alternative news. I was working at InfoWars at the time. No, InfoWars was the biggest in alternative news. Love it or leave it, baby. It's the reality. But Cenk was able to start establishing himself. MSNBC tried to buy him right up. Yeah, and they did for a time. And then he left because he said, he got to play like that anti-establishment game. And they came in with all that money. All that money. And all of a sudden, everything you hear over the Young Turks is establishment talking point bullshit. They're not against the wars anymore. They're selling you on Bernie Sanders and other bullshit to this day. It's a joke. So no, actually the liars and scammers, they're artificially amplified, especially with these algorithms. Somebody like myself has been so suppressed. If you see these documents now, I'll give you an example. I'm going to play a video I did 3.5 years ago where John Kiriakou, it's like a 12-minute segment, blows the whistle on CIA trafficking of children to their assets. Okay? I had 35, this is when I was still monetized, 3+ years ago. I had 35,000 subs. 35,000, okay? That means, again, I'm at 70,000. In 3.5 years, I've gained what? I've doubled the audience in 3.5 years of doing this. 3.5 years. Already on Rumble, okay? My videos between here and RVM putting them out there, okay? What happens? They have 2 to 3 times the amount of views on YouTube already. 2 to 3 times the amount of views on YouTube already. I've been on Rumble for 7 months, maybe almost a year. I don't know. I'd have to go back. But this guy it's all nonsense. Rewarded, amplified, and incentivized. No, I'm sorry. You have to grind. Okay? Extreme ideologies, like the ones that are pushing us to World War III, the Maddows of the world, the Joy Reids of the world. Right? And then again, Fox is no better on that issue. There's some people every once in a while, Laura Ingraham speaking up, but Hannity's still guns blazing. Give them whatever they want. Let's go. Putting Pompeo and Rove on television makes me sick. Makes me sick. And again, they're going, I can't believe it, going after Substack. They don't want citizen journalism. Justin Hendricks doesn't want a free press. They want state-sanctioned techno-fascism. It's all massive grift, fueling and feeding fascism. No, that's the thing. When you have a corporate press, that's literally fascism. Literally, and we have an active corporate press that pushes bullshit. From 9/11 to the war on terror to the anthrax attacks to 7/7 bombings. Okay, can I continue? You bet I can. To the COVID-19 84 nightmare, of course, and well beyond that too. To election results, to Russia. Okay? They're liars. They're the grifters. With a multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar industry behind them that doesn't, for instance, YouTube itself doesn't need to make a profit because it's a part of Google, Alphabet, NASA, DARPA. Doesn't even need to make a profit. That is fascism. Okay, that is techno-fascism. When it's not a true capitalist system, instead you have the government entities in bed with the corporate interests, and they play patty cakes of plausible deniability, saying, well, you told me to censor, so I did. I'm a private company, so I can. Nobody's accountable. And now we're going to use the government to prosecute people that exposed it. What? And meanwhile, the guy that exposed it is their number one defense contractor. They own it every which way. Everyone. Okay? Let's go back to Justin Hendricks. It's all a massive grift, fueling and feeding fascism, and both activating and preying upon people desperate for alternative explanations. Some of them are willing to use violence to impose their explanations on the rest of us. Bullshit. Bullshit. Who's getting violent? Again, they want to, parade the trope of domestic extremism. It's nonsense. Just like it was nonsense that the Muslim extremism was here. We had to worry about that. I'd be saying the same thing about that. As if to underscore the similarities of it all, Tucker Carlson says he hates Trump passionately. Fox lawsuit documents show. I don't really care whether Tucker likes or hates Trump. I have no idea. So I couldn't care less. This dynamic is not, unfortunately, unique to the United States, nor this moment in history. The construction of false realities is typical tradecraft for fascists and authoritarians. That's the one sentence he got right. He doesn't realize he's a part of that. And when you can't get enough people to believe it, sticks and guns are the obvious recourse. No, we're under psychological and biological warfare attack right now, mother trucker. Grow up. Put down the Zoloft, broski. I'm not saying he's on Zoloft. I am saying that I speculate that, again, Justin Hendricks is highly medicated. I want to make that very clear. I have no knowledge of the types of drugs that Justin Hendricks is on, legal or otherwise. Just putting that out there. Okay. To bring it home, I want to play Chuck, Shoom, yet another liar, another paid political theater actor with his outrage about the Tuckins even releasing, let's be real. Supposedly he got 40,000 hours. Now, a lot of that is just running footage. I'd say let's cut it in half. Let's say less than 20,000 that has anything relevant. Let's even cut that in half and say 10,000 hours. That could be somewhat juicy, maybe a lot to look at. What have we seen so far? What have we, like, literally, even if I took the Muffin Man footage with QAnon sense shaman over there. What I see an extra 60 seconds worth of footage. I'm with Thomas Massey, unleash it to the public. I'm with Thomas Massey, unleash it all to the public. Let's get real. So I'm sick of this limited hangout garbage. So here's Schumer saying that even the limited hangout garbage should be prosecuted, and Fox should not be airing any of this. Oh my.
Last night, millions of Americans tuned in to one of the most shameful hours we have ever seen on cable television.
I mean, again, can you believe what this guy is saying right now? One of the most shameful hours we've ever seen on cable television. What? I mean, we've seen cover-ups and lies by our media that have literally cost tens of millions of lives over the past several decades globally, with a responsibility coming in to our U.S. empire and our military-industrial complex with our allies. And this guy is going to sit here and act like what Tucker played some mild footage exposing the absurdity of their narrative of January 6th, and he starts with that. Shame on you, Chucky Schumer.
With contempt for the facts, disregard of the risks, and knowing full well he was lying to his audience, Fox News host Tucker Carlson ran a lengthy segment last night arguing the January 6th Capitol attack was not a violent insurrection.
Because it wasn't a violent insurrection. There was a few people that rioted. Using the term insurrection means like we were trying to overthrow the government while we were there. Okay? And first of all, you had journalists just covering, like myself, the protest that started at the Ellipse and then what happened at the Capitol. I saw nobody saying, let's take over the government. I documented that nowhere on my camera, sir. I've yet to see anybody who documented a group of people saying they were going to take over the government. I have yet to see any camera footage of people entering the Capitol with weapons. I have yet to see, again, any footage of armed insurrectionists. There was no insurrection, Chuck.
By diving deep into the waters of conspiracy and cherry-picking from thousands of hours of security footage, Mr. Carlson told the bold-faced lie that the Capitol attack, which we all saw with our own eyes, was somehow not an attack at all. He tried to argue it was nothing more than a peaceful sightseeing tour.
Yeah, the vast majority of it was, dude. Like I said, it was a concert without the music and the vendors and the weed. And honestly, there were a few people smoking the weed. Say, instead of the smell of weed, though, you know what I smelled? The CS gas that the cops launched. But it should have never gotten that far because there should have been way more law enforcement there, Chuck. Why wasn't there, Chuck?
Can you imagine? A nonviolent demonstration, a perfectly fine and appropriate instance of people expressing their opinion. I, so many others who were here in the Capitol, and millions of Americans are just furious with Tucker Carlson and Kevin McCarthy today.
Think about what he's saying here. He's angry that we still, as the public, don't have the real footage or all the footage. He's angry even what is available is out there.
Many of my staff were here at the Capitol on January 6th. Their lives were put in danger.
No one's life was put in danger.
As were the lives of many of my colleagues, as well
The head guy saved a muffin, Chuck.
as police, maintenance staff, reporters, countless others. At one point, I was within 30 feet of the rioters.
Oh, no! I was in 30 feet of rioters. Now the rioters are violent insurrectionists, Chuck. I mean, the bottom line is one person got shot to death there. It was an unarmed woman veteran. That's the reality, Chuck.
One of them, I was told, shouted out, "Let's get him."
I see. So now, see how Chuck said that? That's the semantics. Chuck didn't hear somebody go, "Let's get him." Someone told him that these violent rioters, these violent insurrectionists, said, "Let's get him." They were going to get big Chucky Schumer.
Before my detail pulled me away, and we ran in the other direction. To say January 6th was not violent is a lie pure and simple. I don't think I've ever seen a primetime cable news anchor manipulate his viewers the way Mr. Carlson did last night.
Once again, I have seen such repugnant media coverage on so many issues that have cost the lives and made the lives worse of so many people. Listening to Chuck Schumer say this, I mean, this guy is an angel. This is an agent of evil. Good and evil exist. They exist. And by the way, as we play this, guys, I do want to remind people, I haven't said anything about this. redvoicemedia.com/Jason. redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. That's how you sign up. $10 a month. It's a banger of a second hour coming up. Doesn't look like I'm going to get to much John Kiriakou. I might be able to play, probably will be able to play my clip of Kiriakou. Basically this older clip 3.5 years ago. And then I have a speech by Kiriakou that's a little under 20 minutes that I want to comment on. That'll be in the second hour. We're also, again, going to play the John Stockton video. Man, maybe I can't play that because I also have this rabbi who was abusing his adopted children that I wanted to play those videos, those stories. Man, so many things to go over here.
I don't think I've ever seen an anchor treat the American people and American democracy with such disdain. And he's going to come back tonight with another segment. Fox News should tell him not to. Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, tell Carlson not to run a second segment of lies. You know it's a lie. You've admitted it's a lie. And Speaker McCarthy is every bit as culpable as Mr. Carlson. Speaker McCarthy's decision to share security footage with Fox looked like a mistake from the very beginning. But after last night, it looks like a disaster.
Yeah, don't share footage that should be shared with the American public, with news organizations. I mean, again, I'm not super impressed with what we've seen so far. We're getting there. I really hope that tonight, Chuck, there's another 30 to 40-minute segment on January 6th, this time looking at some of the possible provocateurs that still haven't been arrested. Chuck?
Speaker McCarthy has played a treacherous game by catering to the hard right. He's enabled the big lie and has further eroded away at our precious democracy. When people don't believe elections are on the level, that's the beginning of the end of this bold experiment in democracy.
Once again, He doesn't care whether elections are on the level. It's what people believe. So in other words, what he's telling you is it would be fine if we have fixed elections and corruption as long as people think they're just. We can keep society together. That's kind of snaky bullshit this guy says.
That has gone on for more than 200 years. It's all the more shameful because Speaker McCarthy knows precisely what kind of customer Mr. Carlson is. He's not surprised by this outcome. What a low point for Speaker McCarthy. What a low point for Fox News.
No, we're at a low point in history when I got to listen to that guy, period. It's terrible stuff. But again, we're in the post-truth world. You better believe it. So many stories that I wanted to hit. Which ones do I go to? I guess we're going to go with this one first, okay? Because we're going to play these clips, and then the Kariaku stuff, maybe we'll kick off the first hour with that older segment. It's good. I mean, unless you've been with me for the last 3.5 years, and even if you were, you might have missed that segment. Although what's funny about that is, before we go over this one, back then, again, 35,000, half the subscribers. This has 14,000 views, almost 15,000 views. Okay, and this is from October of 2019, 3.5 years ago. 14,000 views on a video on YouTube now for me? Forget about it. We don't even have, guys, I have 70,000 subscribers. On YouTube, I have 160 people watching this right now. 160 people. I've got way more on the Rumble channels watching this right now. That's how suppressed I am on these platforms. So TikTok star Rabbi, who adopted 9 boys as a single dad, is charged with raping son, 17, and accused of molesting his other children after victim called into a podcast with allegations, also said to have faked his Judaism and chronic illness. I mean, when you take a look at this guy here, I'm just gonna play the news clip. That's what I'm gonna do, because again, when you don't think things can be this evil, they can be this evil.
Tonight, an adoptive father of 9
Was it the one?
is in jail.
A father of 9 adoptive children is in jail tonight.
38-year-old Chaim Cohen is being charged with sexual assault and continual sexual abuse of his 17-year-old son. But according to court documents, the abuse also involves some of the other siblings. Anieli Ruiz has been digging through these lengthy documents. We want to warn you, some of the details are very disturbing. Anieli, is this the first time this man has been arrested?
No, it's not. He was actually arrested back in October of 2019. We actually did a story on him a few months prior to that. He wanted to adopt more kids, and in our story right now, you'll see a video from him from back then, but we've actually blurred out some of the images to protect the kids involved in this story. Take a look. 38-year-old Chaim Cohen is facing several charges of sexual assault of a child and continuous sexual abuse of a child. His father of 9 was very active on various social media sites. Video after video portrayed him in what seemed a normal life with adoptive kids. But court documents shed a different light of what was going on inside the home. According to those documents, the sexual abuse of the 17-year-old started just 2 weeks after he was adopted back in 2016. They say this came to light after the teen called into a podcast to share about the sexual abuse. He used a burner phone, and investigators were able to track him down through the IP address. And the documents go on to say the abuse happened all the time. They say Cohen would call the boys into the room every night to massage his feet. He would tell them to lay down and would caress them. He would make them touch themselves, and then he would touch himself. The victim said from the age of 14 through 17, they had sexual encounters. One of the teens did run away and was returned to the home by constables. He says they were taken to be interviewed, but they all denied the abuse allegations. Their father would bribe the kids or scare them. They go on to say the teen was waiting to turn 18 so he could tell on his dad and was scared the authorities wouldn't believe him. The teen said CPS had 8 investigations that led to nothing. All of this coming from the defendant saying he's in hospice care and has a terminal illness. Well, right now, CPS has custody of all of the all of the kids, and they say that they could not comment on the case. Of course, it's still an ongoing investigation for them.
So, again, stories like this, you would think they get national attention. Instead, I haven't heard a whisper of this. This happened a couple weeks ago. I found this story, I think, 2 or 3 days ago. I was going to do it yesterday, and monsters are among us, man. And you know what? Who knows what's in that guy's past? But these people are protected in the most cases. Former NBC personality sentenced to probation for asking child for naked pictures. Again, put these people in jail forever. 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 Okay? A man who once served as NBC's chief on-air medical correspondent in Los Angeles pled no contest Monday to charges he solicited nude pictures from a child. A child. After apologizing to the victim's family and hugging her father inside a downtown courtroom. Dr. Bruce Hensel, 74. These people do not stop. 74. Okay? Pleaded no contest to one count of contacting a minor with the intent to commit a crime and immediately ordered to register as a sex offender and sentenced to 2 years of probation. How, again, why isn't he in prison? In prison. Hensel was first arrested by Los Angeles police in 2019 on accusations that he contacted the 9-year-old daughter of an acquaintance and asked for nude pictures. Now, let's pull back here for a second. 2019. Now, that's actually the same time as this video. It's 2023. It's 2023. Do you think a guy like that stops? Do you think it's okay that he only got 2 years probation and the process took 3+ years? Is that all right? What is going on? All right? That guy needs to be in jail. Are we just going to wait for him to do something just even more disturbing? A 9-year-old girl. Again, not really a national story. Not really a national story for some reason. Weird. Couple more stories, and then, like I said, when we go to the premium part of the broadcast, I think that's where we're going to play the Kiriakou videos, and we'll also be playing the John Stockton video that I talked about. Hit up a slew of other stories, including the FTC, Musk, Twitter, etc. I hope that you guys are enjoying the second hours. You can go listen to it live over at the InfoWarrior Podbean, which we're streaming on right now. So there's a way that you can do it without spending the $10 a month. But please consider redvoicemedia.com/uncensored, redvoicemedia.com/Jason. So this is just such an odd story. Prominent executive, 55, who served in the Clinton and Obama administrations, killed on board jet during a severe turbulence over New England. Now, this woman was apparently killed, and anything's possible. Either this is freaky or there's some kind of weird cover-up. But then again, this woman who's 55 years old, her child and her husband were on the plane as well. Okay, and obviously this was a smaller plane. But and this is the woman who was killed on the left. But you get down to the bottom, and the FBI is also investigating this. Okay, our agency is assisting as needed. However, the NTSB and the FBI are investigating the facts and circumstances surrounding this incident. For further information, please contact those agencies directly. All right, it's not clear how Hyde actually died. They're saying turbulence, but if right here, turbulence accounted for more than a third of the accidents on a larger commercial airlines between 2009 and 2018, according to the NTSB. But I can't remember the last fatality due to turbulence, said Robert Sumwalt, a former NTSB chair and executive director of the Central Aviation and Aerospace Safety. So again, you never know when time's up. You never know. Is there something more to the story? I know people want to jump in on that Clinton body count. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying that's a pretty wild story. Pretty wild story. Another wild story. And by the way, 2 people didn't survive in this one. 4 Americans kidnapped at gunpoint by a Mexican drug cartel were mistaken for Haitian smugglers when they drove over the U.S. border to buy medicine before they were caught up in a brutal gang war. All right, what you're watching here is them literally being kidnapped out of their cars. And like I said, they got rescued. 2 of them did not survive. 2 of them did not survive. I mean, apparently somebody went down there for a discount tummy tuck. People better realize you go into areas where things like that happen, you're upping your chances, man. I mean, I'm not saying people should be living in fear, etc., but don't be naive. You got to be self-aware at the same time. And so many people are just not self-aware. They're in total denial about the situations that they put themselves in. I'm just being brutally honest here, folks. Brutally honest. So I guess we'll end with this story before we start going over to the second hour of the broadcast. This is Max Blumenthal of the Gray Zone. The first New York Times mention of Seymour Hersh's blockbuster investigation into the Nord Stream bombing came in the 25th paragraph of an article relying on an unnamed U.S. official spinning out an implausible narrative to deflect blame away from the U.S. government. Operation Mockingbird lives. Yeah, you better believe it lives. And it's funny. We're not Navy SEALs. We now identify as a pro-Ukrainian group. So that's the thing. They're trying to discredit Hersh. Hersh isn't perfect, but to me, it seems like he at least got 80 to 90% of that right. It was extensive. He had a lot of, inside sources that were giving him detail after detail. And then now the New York Times comes in, and I guess it wasn't Russia. It's a pro-Ukrainian group. I mean, my goodness. Come on. Give me a break here. And look, this FTC, Federal Trade Commission Twitter thing is dangerous. It's setting a really bad precedent. I don't think this is a war on Musk. I think it's going to be spun that way. I think that you get your limited hangout. You pull the plug on the amount of information that has already come out. You manage the narrative. You continue to elevate, again, Musk as some kind of hero and savior for those that are, somewhat awake that it's bad for Twitter to censor people. Not the ones that are cheering it on like Justin Hendricks, intellectual. Oh, no. So I think, guys, because I want to play this whole segment over in the second hour, and that's what we're going to kick it off with. We're going to kick it off. But you know what? I guess for all those that aren't premium, I'm going to tell you to come over. But if you don't come over, at least go look this up. It'll be hard to find. But what this CIA whistleblower just revealed should shake you to your core. And this was a segment that should shake you to your core. We're going to fast forward to this Belmarsh event for Julian Assange, where John Kiriakou really discusses some of the important issues of today and what's still going on today. And again, Kiriakou is another person that is legendary because he did the right thing. He had a spine. He said, hey, we're torturing these people. We shouldn't be torturing these people. Torturing isn't good. All you Muppets out there, right, that have preached, send them to Gitmo. We don't want Gitmo. No Gitmo. Get it out there. No. We don't want black sites. We don't want Abu Ghraib. Have you figured it out yet? You're the terrorist just like the other guy. That's the deal. All right. One at a time, we're going to say goodbye. And as we do that, we are going to go to premiumredvoicemedia.com/Jason. and redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. Rockfin, I love you. We'll see you on the flip. Later on YouTube.